Welcome to C3 San Diego. Need something fresh, real, and powerful in your life? Connect with us on social media, get live stream service notifications, podcasts, and up-to-date information on upcoming events. We are so glad you're joining us for a powerful, life-transforming message from one of our C3 San Diego pastors. We would love to hear about how God is impacting your life through this ministry. Please share your experience with us at info@c3sandiego.com. If you'd like to be a part of what C3 Church is doing in the city of San Diego and beyond, you can contribute financially by going to c3give.com and choosing the giving option that works best for you. We hope you enjoy this message.
We're in our Hope Alone series, Hope Alone. And I was just thinking about hope and trying to rack my brain for where I wanted to go here and process, God, what are you saying with regards to hope? And I love building champions. I love seeing people in the marketplace win, and I love seeing people find their space and find their assignment and find their calling. And I like measuring the metrics of growth. And I was processing hope and wondering how important is it to grow hope? And if I grew hope, is there a end game to it? Like, in other words, if I had, say, level 1, level 2 of hope, and I was facing life and facing the challenges of life, would I be better off if I had a level 5 or a level 6 or a level 7 of hope? And then what's the benefit of growing hope? And so the theme, the title for tonight is Hope Quotient. Oh, yeah. Our son, Jacob, who's here, by the way, tonight, our United States Marine. I do salute him when he comes home, just so you know. He has a high IQ, okay? And one of the things I discovered about a high IQ is you can't really grow it. It's like I want a high IQ, but we would go around the table, and I've shared this story at Christmas, and we're like, hey, what kind of superpower you want? That's what a question somebody has who has a lower IQ. And so I'm like trying to create conversation, and, I want to fly, I want to, punch things, and Jacob's like, yeah, I'd like to manipulate the laws of probability. And I'm like, what? That's called high IQ, okay? And I don't know where he got it, honey. It wasn't for me. But what I like about hope is it is something you can grow. You can grow your hope quotient. You can grow other quotients. You can grow your leadership quotient. You can grow your adversity quotient and the way you handle hardship. And you can learn how to persevere through things. But you can also learn how to grow hope. And we're going to talk a little bit about growing hope. The other thing about hope that's important is I've discovered that I can have strong hope, maybe level 10 hope in one area of my life, one segment of my life, and yet have another area of my life that's bankrupt of hope. And so hope is not just general or universal, it's actually kind of segmented. And I think it's important for us to effectively live the life God intended for us, that we identify the different segments of our life and develop them. I would like to have high levels of hope in my finances. Anybody? My relationship, my marriage, my career, raising my children. I've found that takes a lot of hope sometimes. But the thing I love about hope is it's not just the segments of your personal life. You can actually have hope for bigger things. Hope for your nation. Hope for your state. I'll tell you what, John said it this morning. He said, he who has the most hope has the most influence. And I think the people that are going to be the change agents in the state of California and in the United States and are going to be the people that carry hope. And so a level 2 hope quotient might not get the job done if you want to move things that need to get moved. But as believers and influencers in culture and in society or in your family, whether it's in a micro scale where that means my life needs hope, Or a micro scale, the small things that I touch need hope. Or a macro scale, my nation, the education system, the government system, the spheres of culture, the media. What if I could be an instrument of change on a big level? What if you could be somebody God selected or utilized to do something special on a large scale? You can't do anything on any scale if you have a low hope quotient. Yeah. And we want to grow hope. A couple things about hope before we get into the word. True, authentic, healthy, powerful hope is always connected to a good God, to a good Father. And there's a couple attributes about hope that make it really strong. And I'll tell you, there's a big difference between low hope and high hope. High hope is fueled by knowing how big God is. Oh, yeah. He's big. He's powerful. He's able to break into things and do things. He's able to do the impossible still and has a desire to do the impossible. Yeah, he's big and strong and able, but he's also good and faithful and kind and loving, has only good intentions. The Bible says he's the Father of lights. There's no shadow of evil in him. There's not one dynamic of God that's not good. That means the only thing he intends to do is good. And so for us to have high hope, we need to know he's big and strong and able, but he's also good and faithful. That's the foundation. So let's get into the word a little bit. I'm going to start out of Isaiah 61. Love the book of Isaiah, being that it's one of the books of the prophets that has the most prophecies about Jesus' coming. Over 11 of the major prophecies about Jesus' coming are in the book of Isaiah. My favorite scripture in Isaiah is Isaiah 61. Verse 1 through 4, follow with me here. It says, "The Spirit of the sovereign Lord is upon me, for the Lord has anointed me to bring good news to the poor." Okay, before I continue, I want to touch on this. I am as John coined me, the bishop of business. So, I didn't ask him to introduce me that way, but I think it's a pretty good introduction. It's better than Colin. It says, "The Spirit of the sovereign Lord is upon me. The Lord has anointed me to bring good news to the poor." Let me tell you what it doesn't say. It doesn't say he's anointed me to feed the poor. No, that's not what it says. It says he's anointed me to preach good news to the poor. What's good news to the poor? The good news to the poor is your future is not like your present. Now, I'm just saying, the good news to the poor is change is coming. In fact, if you take this down, where it says, "It sent me to comfort the brokenhearted, to proclaim captives will be released and prisoners be freed. He sent me to tell those who mourn that the time of the Lord's favor has come, and with it the day of God's anger against their enemies. To all who mourn in Israel, he will give a crown of beauty for ashes, joyous blessing instead of mourning, festive praise instead of despair." All of these things talk about transformational power, not just charity work. And listen, I understand we're supposed to be charitable and generous, but really the nature of Christianity is transformative. There has to be something in your message and in your life that brings a shift and a change and transformation. And thinking about, one of the businesses that we started 2 years ago is in the nation of Uganda. And we just had Pastor Rock here from C3 Church, who oversees, I think, 87 churches in Uganda, great man of God, and he could not believe this church. And he's trying to model this church. This is the church. And I was asking him questions because we have a desire. One of the businesses we started, which is not a nonprofit, and it's not designed to be charitable in that nation. It's designed to bring transformation. It's designed to actually bring good news to the nation. Good news to the nation is you don't have to be a poor nation. And you know, here's the thing I used to think, that, you know, it's not enough to feed a man. You have to teach him to fish, right? Okay, yeah, everybody's heard that. But God was like pressing me a little further, and after talking to Pastor Rock, he was showing me, well, you got to teach a man more than to fish if you want to break poverty. You're talking about poverty that is not just in the generation that you're reaching, but it's generational. There are 4, 5, 6, 7 generations. That means they don't even know someone alive in their family that's ever known it any other way. It's not like great-grandpa used to have money. No, great-grandpa was broke. So was grandpa and dad, and so are you. And you see, it's just cycles of poverty. And so I think sometimes in America, we're so privileged here. And here's what he said. He said, in America, revival is people getting delivered and healed and signs and wonders and people coming out of wheelchairs. He's like, we got that in spades in Uganda. He's like, revival in Uganda is people coming out of poverty. And I was just like, what? I mean, I couldn't really wrap my head around it. But he says, if you really, really want to break poverty, you got to teach men to hope. When you have been in cycles of poverty, you are so despairing. You're hopeless. And if you don't know how powerful hope is, look at hopelessness. Look at despair. Despair means like there's no chance anything's going to change. So to the degree that I am despairing is to the degree that I need the power of hope. Hope is the despair breaker. Telling you. And so we need to teach hope around finances in that nation. And I think there's probably people here who, like me, who don't come from generations of financial hope. Oh, can I tell a little bit on myself? Have you ever been looking for a discount at a time when you probably shouldn't have been? Oh, yeah. How about the beginning of your honeymoon? Trying to get down to the airport with my beautiful wife. My first assignment ever was to get to the airport on time. We were going to Jamaica. I got a trip to Jamaica through one of those calls, the people that call you relentlessly and they offer you something. And if for $199, we'll give you 3 nights in Jamaica, but you just got to do all this crazy stuff. Well, I did all that, okay? And then I'm on my way down. This is the morning after our wedding night. It was a good night, by the way. Yep, it was a good night. So here's like limited thinking, new husband, looking for discount parking. Oh yeah, what is this, $20 a day? We're gonna be here for like 6 days? There's gotta be cheaper. Oh yeah, I found it cheaper. Found it for $8 and missed the flight. Oh yeah, missed the flight. True story. Prosperity, oh yeah. Oh yeah, I'm the bishop of business. Not only that, I'm the most interesting choice for God to select for preaching on business and prosperity, because before I was carrying this new fire, I used to wave this old banner. It's called the banner that the more you suffer for Jesus, the more you give up all your stuff. I used to persecute prosperity. Persecuted. Oh yeah. I like to suffer for Jesus. Oh yeah, just trying to shoot straight with you. Sometimes you got to tell where you came from before you can talk about where we're going. Interesting, though, we have come out of poverty and poverty thinking and limited thinking and small thinking and just enough for me thinking. And what I'd love to see the church come into is prosperous thinking, which means there's more than enough for me. I've got enough for every good work. I can be a part of building something and blessing and blessed to be a blessing, you know? So let's go there. Wish I had time to tell you some more stories, man. Oh my gosh. Let's get. I might have one for you. I might have one. I've got ones that make that one look tame, but. Okay, let's get back to the word here that transformed this guy, all right? And I feel like there's an atmosphere here that is things are gonna shift, okay? And it says, in their righteousness, they will be like great oaks that the Lord has planted for his own glory. Get this, they will rebuild the ancient ruins, repairing cities destroyed long ago. They will revive them, though they've been deserted for many generations. That's Isaiah 61, 1 through 4. And with the work we're doing in Uganda, we're actually planting trees. We own, I think, 1,300 acres, and we're trying to plant like 600,000 trees and create a lot of wealth and be very generous and create a lot of jobs and really bring a lot of change, okay? But what we found is it's hard work. When you're breaking cycles of poverty, you're dealing not just with the ground, you're dealing with the head. You're dealing with the mind, and you're dealing with things over there and what I've found is to grow trees is a lot similar and has a lot of parallels to growing people. And so I've snatched this acronym called SEED, because what we're doing over there has started with seedlings and started with a seed. And I feel like for us, there's just some great parallels here, okay? So for those of us who are taking notes and going to heaven, yeah. We'll start with the S in seed. The S is stay in the promise. I found at times, quick obedience is one thing. That means I heard God's voice. He called me to do something. But staying there has been tricky. I don't know about you, but I like shiny things. And after a while, I get bored with things that aren't shining anymore. And 6 months ago, they were shiny, exciting, new, fresh. And now my eyes have wandered somewhere else and something shiny over there. But what I've discovered is to see things grow, you have to stay planted through different seasons. And I love this scripture. It's the last scripture I'm going to share. This is out of Genesis. Incredible message. In Genesis 26, verse 2 to 3, 12 to 14, and then 16. And then we'll jump into the word. It says, the Lord appeared to Isaac and said, the preface here is he's in a famine. And I think sometimes the biggest and most tempting times to leave and uproot and to chase the shiny is when the season you're in isn't really as exciting anymore or as fruitful or it's difficult, okay? When things are difficult, I'm looking for something that's not, okay? I don't think I'm alone. And Isaac is in the same boat. I mean, he's in a famine. The Lord appeared to Isaac and said, do not go down to Egypt. Live in the land where I tell you to live. Stay in this land for a while, and I will be with you and will bless you. That's the word. Stay in this land for a while. Stay in this land for a while. Stay in this job for a while. Stay in this position of serving for a while. Stay in this relationship for a while. Stay where I've called you. And I will be with you. It's interesting, before he says I'll bless you, he says I'll be with you. And I don't know about you, but I've been in some seasons where the blessing's not there yet, but he is. Oh, I'll take him anyway. I'll take him any day. It's funny, I think sometimes we uproot our lives and realize he's not with us there. Anyway, I don't know if you've done anything that he's not in, but I've done a couple things. Stay in this land for a while, and I will be with you and will bless you. Again, getting back to the intention of God. He's big and powerful, but he's also good and has intentions to bless us. Okay, so our hope quotient hinges on us understanding that his will, when he tells us to do something, is always to bless us. Okay? For to you and your descendants I will give these lands and will confirm the oath I swore to your father Abraham. So Isaac stayed in the land, planted crops in that land, and the same year reaped 100-fold because the Lord blessed him. The man became rich, and his wealth continued to grow until he became very wealthy. He had so many flocks and herds and servants that the Philistines envied him. I think this part's even more interesting. Verse 16, then Abimelech said to Isaac, move away from us. You've become too powerful. Stay in the promise. There's two types of obedience in this Christian world. The first is quick obedience. And quick obedience is what Isaac's father had to deal with. Get out of the land you're in. The land you're in is compromising what I've called you to do. It's keeping you limited, and you need to quickly get up, saddle your donkey the next morning, and go to the land that I've called you. Quick obedience is part of your life. Some of us in here, we need to quickly move into something. And it's not always moving out of sin. Sometimes it's just moving into opportunity. It's just moving into something that God speaks to us. But I'll tell you, the other tension with quick obedience is long obedience in the same direction. Jim Collins says the average overnight success story is about 9 years. That's long obedience, doing something for a long time. And so the secret to not chasing what's shiny is polish what's in your hand. Oh, baby, you polish that thing. You polish that thing. You polish what's in your hand. Keep it shiny. Keep it shiny. All right, so the S is stay. Stay. Stay in the promise. Stay in hope. Go through a few seasons. Yeah, a few seasons. The E, the first E, is you are engineered in hope. Interesting, we have engineered these seedlings in Uganda to be able to weather the conditions there. We've engineered them to grow faster, stronger, to be pest resistant, to be dense, to grow tall. And there's this engineering involved in, and I'm not a botanist, but I'm smart enough to hire one, okay? So, I mean, you get people on your team that do what you can't do, all right? And he starts talking, and I'm like, that's awesome, man. I'm glad that our trees are genetically superior to the other ones. But I want you to know, I just got back last night, believe it or not, from the Baja. We rode the Baja in Mexico. So we rode these like crazy four-seater razors. And I didn't really plan the trip. I've never ridden in a four-seater. Has anybody ever been in one of those crazy machines? Okay, so we just got back last night, and my friend from South Campus, Jose Rubicala, one of the greatest, most generous men I've ever met, he organized this trip and tricked me into going with him, I think. So I'd never been in one of these machines, okay? And he says, I will rent you one. Don't worry about it. And I've ridden quads, and I'm decent at riding quads, but not that great. I'm not superior. I'm not genetically superior in quad riding, okay? But so I pull up to Jose's shop and he's like, this is what you're gonna be driving. And I'm like, I'm a little nervous, to be quite honest. I mean, what am I gonna do in that thing? I've never been in one, passenger or nothing. And all the people I'm going with are like good riders. They, for the most part, had ridden before. It's like their pastime. Yeah, Jose's uncle, Salazar. Oh yeah, pounds a bottle of tequila while he's riding his Baja Bug. He's like finished the race like 10 times, man. And I'm supposed to keep up with Salazar. And I'm starting to think twice, maybe I made a bad decision. Well, anyway, I want to fast forward to like a good moment on the trip for me. There was a lot of good ones, but can we show a quick video now that it is really windy, so if the sound in here, we asked to bring it down a hair, but I would like you to hear a little bit of the sound because it was really, really, really loud. And if you could show this 30-second video of me riding in the Baja, and I have some interesting points to say. That's me. Oh, come on now. Pretty legit. All right, that's cool. It was fun. That was like the highlight. So, we're good. It's cool. There's a point. So, when I first got into that machine, I mean, I was a little timid, to be real honest with you. I was trying to figure out how this thing worked, and I was probably a big disappointment to the engineer of that machine for a while. Because that machine was not engineered to go slow. It was not engineered to be timidly driven. It was engineered for somebody to get in there and put their foot on the gas, which I wasn't ready to do right out of the gate, to be honest. I wanted to live, okay? I like my life. I don't hate my life. I don't have a death wish. I'm not living for the weekend. I actually like what I do all the time, And so, but as we got a little more comfortable in this thing, and you were forced to, with Salazar leading the charge, you're forced to get comfortable because you just got to keep up. The only thing I was more afraid of than dying was getting lost in Baja, Mexico. So you're like motivated by fear to keep up, right? But I slowly began to like figure this machine out, and I started to really like it. Like, you start to feel one with it. You start to feel like, man, this thing's a beast. And so that's a cool clip right there. I was actually going about 86 miles an hour in that right there. But that's the only one I posted on social media because it was cool and made me feel brave. But that's the only stuff we ever post on social media. I didn't post the first trips up and down the beach. You saw the tracks in front? Yeah, those were mine. Because I was like, I started at like 40, This is crap. This is crazy. Luke Wilborn up north, he's wheeling by me on like a Baja bike. I'm like, I hate you. And but the next pass, like 40, I pushed to 50, then 60, then 70, then 80, and then that last pass, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna take this thing all the way. And I was thinking about engineering, and I was thinking about like how an engineer thinks, and what an engineer loves to see is their masterpiece taken to the limit. And I started to think about our God, who's the greatest engineer of all time, and how he wired us to be machines that function, and you know what I mean. And he actually intended us to be driven to the limits and push ourselves. And he has gadgets and things about us that are so amazing. And I was thinking how disappointed an engineer would have been if I would have stayed at like 30 miles an hour. Now, it felt safe, to be honest. Felt a lot safer. But I felt alive at 80 miles an hour. Oh, I felt alive. And I think like God has been dreaming about your life being pushed into the limits. He didn't engineer you to not work. He engineered us to function and to be exceptional. And And I think as an engineer, if we're going to have a high hope quotient, we need to understand we've been engineered to win. We've been engineered to work and function and push the limits. I think somewhere that engineer was hoping I would open it up. I think there's an engineer here even tonight who's hoping that you open it up. I don't mean just opening up to him and his love. I mean opening up to his plan, his will. Oh my gosh. He wants to take you. All right, let's keep moving here. The next E, thinking about your engineering, I've been processing not just the fact that God loves us and has engineered us to have a relationship with him, but he's engineered us to do things for him. And I was, thinking having Jacob here, the last time Jacob was up, he was talking about how his favorite thing to do is to be a Marine. He was wired and built to be a Marine. And I was like, does it suck out there at 29 Palms? He's like, heck no, man. I'm a Marine. I get to do my thing. This is who I am. And I'm like, flip, God, he's a machine. And I think that some of us, we need to get in connection with our engineer, but we also need to get in connection with our engineering. All right. Next E. It's an environment of hope. So you're engineered in hope. You got to stay in hope. You're engineered in hope. And you need to get into an environment in hope. So one of the things we've had to build in Uganda are greenhouses. And greenhouses have 3 advantages. And a lot of these seeds and seedlings won't survive just in the elements. It's too hot. There's pests. There's all kinds of things. And so there's 3 advantages to a greenhouse. A longer growing season. Number 2, protection from pests, predators, and bad weather. Remember, there's parallels between seeds and people, okay? You get into the right environment, and you'll have a longer growing season. Imagine if your life was protected from pests and predators. Anybody got any pests or predators in your world? Until you're strong enough, you need to be in a season where you're built. All right. And then number 3 is the third advantage of a greenhouse is to create an optimum growing environment. And I just was thinking about C3 San Diego and how for 7 years we've been in this atmosphere. We've been in this environment, where the soil's good, where our friends are good. Gosh, have you ever had friends that made you better? The atmosphere, I think the 5 p.m. is one of those atmospheres. If I was consistently in this atmosphere, I think I would grow. Oh, yeah. I think I'd have a bigger business, better marriage. Where do you need to grow? This is an environment where growth will happen. You have to intentionally, as a person who wants to grow, stay in environments where growth happens. God's engineered you for success, indeed. But there are environments that bring out your best. This is one of them. Finally, the D. We're going to bring it home with this. Oh, man. The D is disrupted. Disrupted by hope. What I love about Isaiah 61 and why I read that is, the first message Jesus ever preached, they asked him to open the scroll, and he read out of Isaiah, and he said, today, in your hearing, this word is fulfilled. And you know what? I don't know how popular it was, but when somebody's going to bring hope into cycles of despair, they aren't going to generally bring it just with a pat on the back and a little love. There's a disruption that has to happen. And what I love about Jesus is he was willing to disrupt. I remember being 23 years old in Hawaii with a life that was so shattered. On the outside, it looked pretty together, but inside, it needed a major disruption. And I remember when I met the disruptor himself. I remember experiencing my life being disrupted. And you know what? It didn't need to be, I didn't need a friend that was going to tell me that everything was going to be all right. The path I was on was not all right. It wasn't working. There's no chance I end up here today in this amazing place with anything to share with you guys, with this amazing family, if somebody didn't disrupt me. I needed to be disrupted. I needed something to massively shift. And I love that about Jesus. You know, he turned tables over, but he turned my life over. And I wonder if anybody in here has had their life. You see, you can get into an environment like this, and one of the dangers is you can almost come in here and have an element of faith and an element of experiencing almost vicariously the atmosphere. But I'm going to tell you something. You have to personally be disrupted by God. And if you don't allow him to disrupt, you can never be everything he engineered you to be. Your ways won't get you there. Your pride, your stubbornness, not even all your talents and abilities will get you into what he's engineered you to do. Now, you might have pockets of it. You might experience moments where it's working. But to ultimately come into everything he bought and intended for us, we got to let him disrupt us. He's going to disrupt me and all of us here in a minute. And then there's one other thing as we bring this thing home. He wants us to be disruptors. You know, I've been processing like God, here I am, use me. And I keep sensing that some of the things that are going to shift in this country and the countries around the world are going to be shifted by disruptors. They're going to be shifted by people that are willing to disrupt the status quo. And I feel like there are people here, you tonight need a holy disruption. Tonight, you know it. You know it's not working. You fooled everybody by you looking at yourself, and you know it's not working, and you need a holy disruption. Okay, great. We're gonna deal with those of us like that. But there's some of us else here that you know you're called to move things and shift things and shake things and change things and disrupt a status quo. Might be an industry, might be a cycle of dysfunction that's generationally old in your system, in your family line. I don't know. I just know you've been engineered to disrupt cycles that are broken and to bring hope. See, it's one thing to have hope for yourself, but what if you could be a carrier of hope? Remember what Pastor John said earlier today. He who has the most hope brings the most change. So let's do some business, close it down. I didn't get to any more stories, Pastor Jurgen. Next time. Come on. Let's open ourselves up to a disruption of hope. Maybe you're here and you're like me. You know how to fake everybody else out, but if you're real honest with yourself, you know you need an encounter with the one that has your destiny, the one that's engineered you to work and win, the one that has intended you to grow and be fruitful and functional. And you need an encounter with him. If that's you and you're here and you know who you are, could could you do me a favor? You need an encounter with Jesus, the one who opened that scroll and said, I've come to set people free. I've come to straighten things out. I originally intended you to work. I realize you've got into cycles of dysfunction, but I sent my son to buy you back so that you'd function again. If you know that you need an encounter with him who purchased your engineering back, could you just lift your hand up?
Thank you so much for joining us online. We hope you had a powerful experience. We want to take this time to personally help you navigate the next steps in becoming connected. If you made a decision for Christ today, need prayer, or want more information about our church, go to our website, c3sandiego.com. And if you didn't get a chance to give online during service and would like to contribute financially, you can go to c3give.com and click on the giving option that works best for you. We look forward to hearing from you. See you at church.